Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to some Mr. Ballin videos and it's been a long time. I got a suggestion to react to him yesterday saying I haven't reacted to him in ages, and I was like, actually that is very true. So I sort of thought to myself, I'm going to do a reaction basically just based on the suggestion, and it is a top 3 photos with disturbing backstories part 8. I think I've reacted to most of these ones, but I was looking and I hadn't viewed this one, so yeah, I don't know how many of these I've seen, because I remember there's the videos with disturbing backstories and then the photos. I can't remember which one I used to react to more, but I think I reacted to both of them quite a lot. But anyway, that's not important. We're going to check this out and see some of these disturbing backstories and maybe if these photos are famous or not, if I've seen them before. But yeah, links are also in the description to my Patreon, where I've reacted to films, TV series, YouTube videos that I can't post to YouTube. And it's all based on suggestions. I reacted to Forrest Gump 2 days ago. It was posted yesterday, and that film got me, man, but there's also other classic film reactions there and more to come. And yeah, if you're interested, links are there. If not, let's jump into this and see another Mr. Ballin video, because it's been ages.
Today, I'm going to share 3 progressively more disturbing stories, and at the end of each of them, I will reveal the picture or pictures that are famously associated with that story. But before I get into today's stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious story format, then you've come to the right channel, because that's all I do, and I upload 3, 4, even 5 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, please RSVP as single to the like button's wedding, and then show up with a +1. Also subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of my weekly uploads. Alright, let's get into today's stories.
I think I have to skip the intro. I think someone said to me the intro gets videos age restricted and stuff. Or maybe I'm not. Maybe that's not true, but I have to skip it just for those worries, to say the least. Anyway, number 3, autograph.
Soon after the Beatles dissolved in 1969, one of the 4 members, John Lennon, left his native England and moved to New York City. Lennon and his wife, Yoko Ono, took up residence in the Dakota, which is a very famous building that typically houses the rich and famous people of New York. As soon as Lennon moved to New York, he said that he felt relieved because he didn't have to worry about going outside and getting mobbed by a massive crowd of people that were obsessed with the Beatles. There were people that were huge Beatles fans in New York, but they seemed more respectful, and they would ask for his autograph, but they would mostly leave him alone. Mark David Chapman had always been a massive fan of the Beatles, with a particular interest in John Lennon. But after a 1966 interview where John Lennon, kind of off the cuff, said that the Beatles were more popular than Jesus, this soured Chapman's adoration of Lennon. One of Chapman's high school friends recalls around this time frame Chapman rewriting the song Imagine by John Lennon to read, "Imagine if John Lennon was dead."
Jesus Christ, I mean, his imagination, his thoughts would have came true. In terms of like fame in these times, like the 70s, how different was it to current day? Because like current day, it's all around like Instagram and stuff like that. But John Lennon, the Beatles, like I guess they were the most famous people in this period, around the early 70s, late 60s. But how would that fame translate? Would they just not be able to do anything like how famous people are now, or would it be different? Because again, there's no internet at this point, there's no social media, so I don't know, how different would it be?
Chapman started referring to Lennon as a poser and said that he espoused virtues and ideals that he himself did not practice. And so in relative short order, following that 1966 interview, Chapman went from this adoring fan of the Beatles and John Lennon to really solely hating John Lennon and everything he stood for. By 1980, it's safe to say Mark Chapman had become obsessed with John Lennon. Specifically, he had become obsessed with hating John Lennon. In October of 1980, Chapman quits his job as a security guard and flies to New York City. For 2 months, he stayed in the city and didn't really do much of anything. He would just periodically walk past the Dakota where John Lennon supposedly was living, but beyond that, he really didn't do anything in the city. But that would all change on December 8th, 1980.
So he was just waiting for him, I guess, to see him?
On that day, Chapman went to the Dakota, and he stood right outside the entrance to this building and just waited in hopes that he might run into John Lennon. At 5 p.m. that day, John Lennon comes out with his wife Yoko Ono, and they walk right past Mark Chapman, who flags them down, and he asks John if he can have his autograph. And John Lennon, even though he has a limousine waiting for him, and there's people that are starting to notice that, oh, that's John Lennon, people are coming over, John still took the time to sign an autograph for Mark Chapman. He was very friendly with Mark and asked him if this is enough. Do you want anything else? And Mark said, no, that's it. That's fine. And John Lennon said, okay, take care. And John and his wife Yoko Ono turned and went into the limousine and they drove away. When the couple got back to the Dakota that night, Mark Chapman had not left. John Lennon and Yoko Ono get out of their vehicle and they walk past Mark Chapman, who's standing right outside the front door. It's unclear if Mark and John had any interaction, but as soon as they passed Mark and were making their way
I didn't know he was with his wife when he was killed.
into the building, Mark Chapman drew a gun and shot John Lennon 4 times in the back. And John Lennon staggers into the lobby screaming, I'm shot, before collapsing and dying.
Jesus.
And Mark Chapman, he knew what he was doing. He just stood there, put the gun back in his pocket, and just waited to be arrested. Chapman's lawyers wanted him to plead insanity, but he refused and instead said, I was totally sane, I knew what I was doing, I chose to shoot John Lennon, and I plead guilty. And he was given 20 years to life in jail. And while he was in jail...
How do you only get... Surely that is just a guaranteed life. Why? I know life imprisonment is... I swear when you hear life, you're getting life in prison, it doesn't actually mean life necessarily. Sometimes it does, but it also means it's just a minimum of like 30 plus years. But surely for just killing someone like that, you should just be instantly just, yeah, you're not coming out of prison no matter what. I don't really understand that, but there's probably rules to it, right? I mean, there is rules to it, but Jesus, that is a murdering... Like, it's a cold-blooded murder, man. He's not even moved after, not trying to get away with it. He's just done it, and then that's it.
Jail, he would admit that the only reason he did that was to become famous. That was it.
Oh.
This is the picture of Mark Chapman getting that autograph from John Lennon in front of the Dakota just hours before he would gun him down.
There's a picture of him in it.
He's still in jail today, and he actually just had his 11th parole hearing last month in August of 2020, and it was denied.
Jesus.
On July 17, 2014, people at Amsterdam's bustling international airport began boarding Malaysian Airlines flight MH17 that was bound for Kuala Lumpur. The 283 passengers on board were from all over the world. Some were traveling for vacation, some were going home, others were just traveling for business. In addition to the 283 passengers, there were also 15 crew members that rounded out the flight to a total of 298 people on board MH17.
Big crew.
One of the passengers, before walking down the runway to get on the flight, took a picture of the plane itself and uploaded it to Facebook and kind of jokingly captioned it, "If we go missing, this is what it looks like," in reference to another Malaysian Airlines flight, Flight 370, that had actually gone missing.
What is it with Malaysia? I swear it's always Malaysian Airlines sort of flights that have these cases where they crash or go missing or whatever. Obviously, it's not only Malaysian Airlines but ones, but that's just all you ever seem to hear. Like the story is always about that.
Just a couple of months
Airline.
earlier. Once the boarding was complete on MH17, one of the passengers on board uploaded to Instagram a short video of passengers stuffing their luggage into bins and the captain coming over the intercom saying that, boarding is complete and it's time to turn off your cell phones as we prepare for takeoff. A 15-year-old Dutch boy named Gary Slock and his mother Petra had just sat down inside the plane and they could barely contain their excitement. The pair had signed up for what they were calling a vacation of a lifetime with a group that took single parents and their children on these lavish vacations. Gary, who was the goalkeeper for a soccer team, had been telling his family how jealous his teammates were of this trip he was about to go on with his mother. Before Gary turned off his phone, as instructed by the captain, he took a selfie of he and his mom grinning ear to ear, excited about their...
Is this a real photo? It doesn't say real photo, but I guess it might be. I don't know. Maybe it's not actually. I don't think it is a real photo from this flight.
Trip, and he uploaded it to Facebook for his friends and family to see. Gary turns off his cell phone, puts it away, and he and his mom sit back and get ready for takeoff. The plane takes off without a hitch. It gets up to cruising altitude, and it's going to be a long flight. It's about 12 hours from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur, and so everybody on board is kind of settling in. They're getting their iPads out. They're getting a book out maybe. The crew is making their rounds, offering snacks and drinks, and people are looking out the window. It's a beautiful day, and everyone's just kind of settling in for a long flight. About 3 hours after takeoff, around 4 p.m., the captain of MH17 got in touch with air traffic control at the nearby airport, which was in Ukraine. The pilot told controllers that everything was fine. He was flight level, 33,000 feet. The controllers acknowledged that and said, hey, there's a little bit of air traffic in the direction you're going. You need to reroute your course very slightly. The pilot acknowledged this change in course and was beginning to tell them what he was going to do next when he cut out. The controllers on the ground in Ukraine began hailing MH17 to try to get the captain back online. They couldn't reach him. The plane had sent no distress signals, and over the course of their communication, the controllers had not noticed anything abnormal. And so this sudden radio silence really didn't make any sense. Yelena Brichenko was a 20-year-old bank teller living in Ukraine who happened to be looking up right as MH17 was flying overhead. She would later say that what she saw would haunt her.
By the way, sorry if you can hear the drilling in the background. They're doing waterworks, and it's going to be for a few weeks, I think. So I apologise if you do hear it. I hope you can't, but I can hear it with the headphones in, so I can only assume. I can see the mic somewhat picking it up. I was just trying to see, yeah. Apologies if you can hear it. Anyway, let's go. Listen.
As MH17 was flying overhead. She would later say that what she saw would haunt her for the rest of her life. As she was watching, MH17 just explodes. And
so it wasn't... It didn't go missing, it just literally caught fire.
People inside of the plane very clearly get ejected out of the plane. And she's watching as these people and bits of plane are falling from 33,000 feet, and they come crashing down in this huge fiery inferno. The theory, backed by US intelligence, was that pro-Russian separatists could have fired a missile at this plane, thinking it was Ukrainian military. It was not. It was just civilians. All 298 people on board MH17 perished, including Gary and Petra. This is the selfie that Gary took moments before takeoff with his mother as they were excited about their vacation. Family and friends that saw this picture on Facebook would say that this image perfectly captures Gary's wonderful personality and the love that Gary and Petra had for each other.
These poor people, man, that is actually fucking devastating, man. Fuck's sake. And to think that could have all just been so easily avoided. Poor people, man. Right, number one, assassin. How can we get worse than that? I don't know, but...
From the outside, Bart Whitaker appeared to love his family. He and his younger brother Kevin were extremely close, and Bart and his father shared a passion for long-distance cycling and would often go out and bike around the neighborhood together. Bart's family would regularly go on vacation to places like Cancun, and the pictures of Bart with his family on these vacations are always him beaming with happiness and love for his family. On December 10th, 2003, Bart, who was 23, almost 24 years old at the time, made a special announcement to his family. He told his family that he had just finished taking his final exams of his senior year at nearby Sam Houston State College and that he was going to graduate. Bart was not a natural student and frankly struggled in college, and so this was a really big announcement, and the family was really excited for him, especially his parents. And so they said, we have to go out and celebrate. And so they went out to a restaurant, and they're having this really expensive, lavish dinner. And in fact, his parents had bought a really nice Rolex watch to give to Bart if he were to graduate college. And so here he is announcing it, and they thought, you know what, now's a good time to give it to him. They give him his Rolex, and they're asking people at nearby tables to take their pictures, and everybody just seems so happy, and the parents are so proud of Bart. After they finish dinner, they're all smiles. They pile back in the family car, and they start making their drive back to Sugar Land, Texas, where the Whitaker residence was. It was inside of this upper-class suburb about 40 minutes away from Houston, Texas. On the drive home, his parents are endlessly talking about how proud they are of Bart and how excited they are for his future. They get back to their house, they pull in the driveway, and Bart's brother and parents make their way up to the front door. Bart is behind them, and he says, hey, I forgot something in the car. He turns around and goes back to the car as his brother and his parents walk into the house and are immediately gunned down by an assassin waiting inside of the Whitaker residence. Bart hears the shooting and runs back inside the house. He sees his family is down. He ends up wrestling with the shooter, who ends up shooting him but hits him in the arm before escaping the house. A neighbor hears the shooting and runs outside and sees this chaotic scene. They call 911. Police show up, and Bart's brother, Kevin, has passed away, as well as his mother. They both died on scene. As for Bart and Bart's father, they would go to the hospital, and they would both make a full recovery. So this huge investigation is launched to figure out who this assassin was and why he was attacking the Whitaker family, and quickly they discovered that Bart Whitaker had hired him. Bart Whitaker wanted his family killed so he could take their money. And he had the assassin shoot him in the arm to
people are mental. He's got this fucking loving family, all like doing all this for him, and now he's. Geez, I'm gonna assume he probably didn't get. Maybe he just didn't get the grades in school or something. and he was ashamed or something. But even then, like, Jesus Christ. I mean, maybe not. Maybe it's just even less than that. It's just him being solely wanting the money, and it's not even involving the education. But whatever it is, fucking messed up, man.
Make it look like, this was not his fault and he wasn't involved. Here's a picture from the night they were out celebrating Bart's big accomplishment that he had finished his final exams, except Bart was a total liar and he had stopped going to classes ages ago. He was failing every class and was not even close to graduating. In this picture, Bart knows that the assassin he hired is currently sitting in their house, waiting for them to return when he is going to open fire and kill Bart's family. The people in this picture with him are going to be murdered literally hours later, and he knows it. Bart was convicted in 2007 for hiring the hitman and was given the death penalty, but 40 minutes before his execution, the governor of Texas commuted his sentence to a life sentence because, oddly enough, Bart's own father, one of the people he tried to have killed, had forgiven him and did not want to see.
Wow, that is a wild... God, that is a wild story. Imagine being his father, man. This poor guy's got to live out the love of his life, one of his children, and now his son's the reason they're all dead. That fucking poor guy, man.
His last remaining family member be executed. So that's gonna do it, guys.
I mean, you've got to be helpless in that, man. I can sort of understand. I can understand that, to be honest, because that's his father. Poor guy. Imagine having Mr. Balling as your grandpa. The amount of stories he would. That'd be awesome, man. I mean, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. It's going to be a few years before that's the case for anyone, but the scariest part of your show is how much content you have. Yeah, he's always got content, man. The research is crazy. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this, or you're fascinated by this. Maybe it's not as enjoyable, to be honest, because it definitely isn't. And again, apologies if you hear the drilling outside. There's not really much I can do. I'm just hoping it's not really being picked up, but I have no idea. If it's being picked up by the mic, then I'm screwed. But yeah, that's that. Until next time. Peace.